I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
We are about to do a song that has been requested millions of times.
I thought you were going to say that it's never been done before.
Not
by us.
Not by us. The name of the band is Death, and the name of the song is The Flesh and the Power It Holds.
I am really interested in this.
It's very interesting from a Christian perspective.
Yes.
So I'm interested. I've never heard this band, never heard anything about them. Have you?
No.
That'd be a surprise.
No, but I knew Chop Suey the other night.
You know, a lot of
Win
times...
for Sori. I was going to say a win for Vin. I'm like, wait, no.
A lot of times people will ask us, like, you know, if you do a fireside chat, what is the subject going to be about? And I'll usually say, I don't know. But this next fireside chat, we're actually going to talk about an actual subject, which is going to be the whole topic of Tim Lambesis from As I Lay Dying.
I think it's a very, very important discussion. And I think that a few of our, you know, subscribers or villagers or friends or who, I don't really know which category everybody's in, but I think a lot of the things that some of them were bringing up, they had legitimate points.
Yeah, I've been watching the back and forth in the comment section, and I've been extremely interested in them. And there's a couple other things that I'm like, whoa, I got to address that.
Yep,
so
for sure.
I don't know when the actual day is going to be for the fireside chat, but
Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout, and you know, obviously, we're putting our feelers out there to see if we can actually talk to the man himself and see what his opinion is of it. So there you go. That's on the way because I think it's a very important topic.
Be on the lookout. I used to do this to my brother, and he'd be like, "Stop it, Sori! Stop it!"
To talk about. Okay.
Definitely.
So this is Death, the Flesh, and the Power It Holds. Without further ado, let's get to it.
Here we go. Well, that's a very self-aware song.
Really?
Yeah. What do you
Okay.
mean, yeah?
What do you mean self-aware? How's it self-aware?
Then why is your shirt on inside out?
Who cares? Because I was looking for my shirt,
You're awesome.
my Sori Silence shirt. That's what it's called, the Sori Silence shirt. But I couldn't find mine. So
Probably in the laundry. Okay.
yeah, go for it. I mean,
Well,
if
I
you think,
think
that has self-awareness, go for it.
I do, because I think that people most times, if they know it, they don't admit it, that what we do in the flesh as the things that consume, like those parts of us, like it'll completely take you over. Like whatever you desire to that degree, and that your passion of whatever the thing is, like it'll consume you if you're not careful.
Passion is a poison?
Oh, passion can be a poison, yeah.
It didn't say can be, it says is.
Well, I think that if you're coming from the idea that all those desires are bad, then yeah.
Well, that's why I said that's
I think it
that
sounds
lacks
like
self-awareness.
that's true. I think it's coming from the point of view of where, like, all of a sudden you realize this is a problem, and so then it's a ginormous problem. Like, once you realize that you're controlled by your flesh, like, whatever consuming
First of all,
nature that you have.
define what you mean by flesh.
What I define by flesh, when he lists off touch, taste, breathe, consume, like, so whatever you, like, touch and you need and you consume, then that's flesh. So, like, some people, like, they're like sex addicts and they can't stop. Like, we've talked about this before.
Well-
or like some people can't friggin' stop eating.
Well, you know what this reminds me of is Paul in the Colossians, where he was going after the ascetics
Yeah.
that were saying, do not handle, do not taste, do not touch.
Yeah.
And he was saying that that's a doctrine of demons.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that this is the extreme, where you're at the point where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a problem. Like everything, like it will take you in, it will spit you out, behold the flesh and the power that it holds. Because if you're being ruled by it, it's the power of you, it has power over you.
Yeah, I mean, flesh from the biblical perspective, this is actually a misunderstanding a lot of people have. From a biblical perspective, and the Greek word is sarx. From the biblical perspective, it's not your actual physical body.
Right.
It's your sinful nature.
Right.
So Christianity exalts the physical body. It doesn't try to deny the physical body. It exalts the physical body because the physical body is created by God and is ultimately going to be redeemed in Christian theology. Mm-hmm. But you do have this concept of the flesh, which we've talked about with Carl Jung, where he talks about the shadow self or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the flesh is the part of human nature that's susceptible to sin. Mm-hmm. And it is very, very powerful. It's so powerful that from a certain perspective biblically, unless God saves you from it, you're doomed. Mm-hmm. So when Christians say, "Are you saved?" a lot of times people think, saved from hell. You know what I mean? Like
Lots of people think that.
Going down from the realm of from Beelzebub and digging. I don't know what he's doing with the charcoal, with the... What's that thing? The pitchfork.
Yeah.
So when you say saved, a lot of people think
I never saw him digging with it. I always saw just standing there.
That's what you're talking about. But
I always thought it was like his scepter. Like that was what he can,
I don't know. I always see him like, digging and
devil is doing
like
work?
shoveling coal.
I never
but
saw
he's
the
like...
Yeah, he's ruling with it.
That's a tool that you use to shovel the coal and all that shit. I don't know. But anyway, when a Christian says saved, a lot of times it's like talking about like rescue from hellfire.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, actually, when Paul talks about being saved, he's talking about being saved from the flesh.
Right. You're
being saved from the desires of the sinful nature, because that can create enough hell on this very planet.
Well, the Bible says that your
worry.
desires, you're led away by your desires.
Yeah, you're led away, and it says that desires are deceitful
right.
desires. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your desires cause you to sin, and then your sin eventually brings death.
Well, bad desires cause you to sin.
Yes.
Right, which originated in the flesh, and so ultimately the biblical solution is not to deny that you have desires, but to have a new set of desires that desire good things. Because basically the biblical assumption is you're going to act on whatever your dominant desire is.
Yeah.
And so the biblical solution is not, okay, let's kill all desire. The biblical solution is, let's get this person a new set of desires that are after good things, and then they won't want the bad things. Right? So if I hate mustard, and I love, I don't know, Red Bull. So if you get a can of mustard and a can of Red Bull and you set them side by side, 100% of the time I'm going to go after the Red Bull because I have a deeper desire for the Red Bull than I do the mustard. So that being the case, that's a biblical solution. There are other philosophies that say, oh, mustard and Red Bull are both bad. Don't desire anything. And I think the Bible is pretty realistic about human nature by saying, well, you're never going to not desire something. It's just a matter of which ones are going to win, right?
Right.
And that's the difference between heaven and hell a lot of times. But what did you think? What was self-aware here about this?
I just thought it was self-aware to realize that those desires that consume and that cause you to consume are negative, and they're laced. Passion is a poison laced with pleasure, bittersweet. And it's just talking about things like as you desire and you want these things and you go after them to consume them. Like in the end, they spit you out. Like they chew you up and they spit you out. Like a lot of times people don't realize that. Like they just go about like just running after everything that they want, and they're like, if this feels good, I'm gonna do it, regardless of how destructive it is. And I think a lot of us, we just have this like, it's so natural to love what destroys us. I don't know why we're like that. Maybe you have some answer, but a lot of people like that. We desire things even though they're bad. I mean, we all know that we feel better when we eat healthy and we exercise, but our desire to do that is not really there as much as it is to do and act destructively in our lives.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm assuming that has something to do with the sin nature, but I think that this guy is aware that those desires in the end up overtaking you.
No, I can rock with that. I just feel like he went too far when beauty shows its ugly face. So you can't just leave something beautiful as beautiful. You have to say it's ugly in order to overcome lust, I'm assuming is what he's trying to say.
And see, I didn't take it that way. I thought when beauty shows its ugly face, just be prepared, because when something that you desire and you want it, it's beautiful to you at that point. But then once you see the destructive nature of it, then it's ugly. So he's saying when beauty shows its ugly face, be prepared, like what's coming. Like if you desire something to that degree, but I see what you're saying, like beauty can't just be beauty, why can't you just leave it there? But that's that desire that makes people want it.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is it seems to me that this guy is saying, okay, I have a problem with beautiful women, or I have a problem with beautiful this or beautiful that. And so in order for me to overcome that lust, I'm going to say that it's ugly.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's bullshit. You're a beautiful woman. End of story. I mean, what can you do? She's beautiful. What can you do? And, somebody messaged me. They're like, how do you deal with the Sori lust? Because dudes are just going to lust after you, whether or not you're in makeup or whatever, whether you're in a bandana, it's going to happen, And so how do I deal with it? And what part of me thinks to myself, what would I say to this guy if this guy he and I were friends, right? And he was saying, yo, dude, like this girl, man, she's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, let me see this chick. And I was like, damn, she's very beautiful. Okay, so like, how do you get him to deal with that? Do you tell him never to look at another Vin and Sori video? Do you tell him, oh no, she's ugly? Mm-hmm. Like, would that work if I were to just say, oh, Sori's ugly, she's ugly as hell? Sure. Like, is that supposed to solve the problem?
No.
To me, what that does, that like, it's like one of those temporary fixes where it's like, okay, like,
yeah.
And then he'll explode in a volcano of lust because the actual root cause issue isn't being dealt with.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's actually talking about beauty. I mean, look at...
It says when beauty shows...
Yes, but beauty doesn't have to be like... It doesn't have to be so concrete that it's literally a beautiful woman. Like, because it could be... It could be drugs. It could be, like I said, food. This is America. People have a real problem with consumption.
I agree with that.
And even just, like we were watching that well, I think it was another Joe Rogan thing, and like instead of like they started talking about how people are consumers and friggin' that's why they have to put out so much, like that's why they have to treat the animals so poorly and put them in such bad conditions,
the meat.
There's such a desire for meat and stuff. So then rather than saying people have to get a control of their desires and not consume meat like it's like they're friggin' like they're dying.
Yeah.
That like if instead the discussion became, well, then we have to do population control. Like what? No, people friggin' control yourselves. Like
we're
gonna kill people. Sterilize people because we can't stop eating. Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, my man Alex said that if it wasn't all the protein we ate, we wouldn't have develop these brilliant minds that we have.
I'm not saying don't eat any protein.
I'm on a totally carnivorous diet, and I'm a pretty fucking smart guy. Apparently.
Well, maybe how you would be if you ate more vegetables.
I'd be dumb. Alec told me he's an actual biologist. What do you know about it?
Did he tell you need X amount of ounces of protein per day?
Well, he told me.
Because I guarantee we do not need as much as we eat.
He told me the more meat I ate, the more, intelligent we would be. Alec, you can back me up on this, brother. I'm sure.
Alec, I'm gonna have a conversation with you because I think that sounds like bullshit the way that Vin is putting that out. I mean, there's a limit. You have got to balance that with some fruit, some vegetables. No, I don't believe Alec was meaning that. I think you misunderstood the man.
That say like blink if you're.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I just, maybe I'm projecting a lot of, like, my experience in Christianity where people, because there's a problem, they swing the other way.
Oh, and I totally agree.
Dudes can't control themselves. Well, fuck, man, don't go in the same car with a woman because, guys have problems with porn. Oh, shit, you can't look at a woman unless she's got, whatever. Like, it's just this weird,
Or, guys can't control themselves, so then they try to control what a woman is going to wear because they don't control themselves.
Yeah, make sure the girl's in a full burqa. No disrespect to my Wahhabi friends, but I mean, it's like, I don't know. But it is true, like the flesh, the sinful nature, a lot of times from a biblical perspective is almost like separated from the person and then characterized or stylized as a predator. So like, where God says to Cain,
I was thinking, Genesis 4.
Sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is to have you, but you must master it.
Right.
So God is separating Cain from his own sinful nature, which I think is, to me,
that's actually good to know.
Yeah, like that's the way to overcome sin or bad desires, is to say that's not who I am at my core. So God's saying to Cain, like, dude, that's not who you are at your core. Not yet, at least, because I do think there's a time when a person like completely sells themselves out to that, where they make that,
but how do you harmonize that with saying that you were born sinful? Like you had these sinful desires within you.
I was born in sin.
Yeah.
But sin is not who David is at the core of his being. That's not who he is.
And at the core
of his being, he's an image bearer. He's not a sinner.
Oh.
So sin is a predator that like sort of stalks you your entire life, and you can either make war with him or you can surrender to him and let him have you. Because it says its desire is to have you. So that means that sin can master you or you can master it. So your flesh can master you or you can master your flesh.
How do you know if it has you?
With the help of Christ. But sin has you if this is the like
because it controls you.
Yeah, like with Hellraiser, oddly enough. This reminded me of the whole Hellraiser thing that we went over, because it says, laced with pleasure, bittersweet, and the whole point was like the pain and the masochism that the guy, it progressed to the point where the guy was literally in hell, but he's smiling because, hey, I got what I wanted. Like that's when you know that you've been mastered.
Nice.
Or when you kill your own brother, like, Cain.
Yeah.
Or like somebody was talking about the whole Lambesis thing, and the guy goes, well, you don't know how far she pushed him to make him go in that direction. Like that's a guy who's been mastered by misogyny. Like some girl was mean to him in high school and all this, and now he's carrying grudges. Obviously carrying grudges against women now because,
Yeah,
whatever.
That's wrong. That I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying, you know, like they were talking about divorce and stuff, and saying, well, there's always two sides to the story, and like it takes, you know, there's always two parties that are involved in something. Two parties are guilty to make that happen. And I'm like, no, that's not true, because, you know, you can't say that there are two guilty parties when somebody's abusing somebody else. Like,
yeah.
I don't care what she or he said to you that got you to that point. You don't abuse somebody.
Yeah.
Get help. Seriously, get help.
Well,
and if you're in an abusive situation, also get help. You shouldn't be in a situation where you or your children or anybody you know is being abused. That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, that's, you know, yeah. But so that's how you know, right? When you got to that level. Is when you start saying irrational shit like, well, what did the girl do to make her husband go after a hitman, or well, I know that he's beating you black and blue, but you should still stay married. Like all this craziness.
What's the definition of insane? Like the word insane?
I mean, there's lots of definition. To me, it seems like the inability to properly, you know, measure reality.
Yeah.
That's to me insanity.
Insane.
Yeah, like
that is insane to ask that question.
You now have demonstrated you're incapable of measuring reality.
Right.
Because like if you live on a planet in your mind where it is ever allowable or understandable why a person would hire a hitman to kill his wife, like you're, you know.
It's when you ask the question, it's okay to hire a hitman when your wife does boom. Finish the sentence.
Right. Right.
No.
Good Lord. Yeah. So I think, you know, that's when you know that you're in some serious trouble, right? It builds you up one way and tears you right back down. It will take you in and spit out. Behold the flesh and the power. I do think it's a very important cautionary tale. I'm just surprised because there's so much theology in this song.
Right? Another one. Because
the flesh is absolutely powerful. You know, and there's that famous quote of "Be killing sin, or sin will be killing you." And you know, this is you never hear like Christian worship songs sing this shit. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine if this would be awesome. Oh, I wasn't really into the vocals, but I was surprised by the vocals. They were not what I expected them to be.
Vocals were okay. The musicianship, there were a couple like segments, especially the end. It was different. Like I'd never.
I know. I liked it. There was like some real unique parts in there.
Yeah, there were unique parts. I just felt like this is like an Opeth type thing where the song went on for probably 48 seconds longer than it should have.
It started too long for me.
Yeah, I found myself looking at the clock going, all right.
I was like, did I get the instrumental here?
Okay.
I got the instrumental. I bet you I got the instrumental.
What do you give it?
I am, so like I said, the vocals,
Maybe a bag of shells.
Yeah, they were a little bit too for me. But I think the message was really good, and I think it's an important message for people. So,
no doubt.
So I'm giving it an 8. I did like the music and stuff, so I'm giving it an 8.
The metal was average to me. You know, it was You know, I felt like it was too long, so it's a 6. But I did like the message. I don't know if these guys are Christians or what, but it's very interesting.
The album name is The Sound of Perseverance.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Behold the flesh and the power it holds. Yeah. All right. So it's a 6 for me. It's a what for you?
8.
All right. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.